seated, please. Roll call.
Holt,
Here.
Nikki. Here. Sarah. Here. Phillips. Here. Hensley.
Here.
Bradford.
Here.
Tatum.
Here.
Lemings.
Yes.
Staff.
All present, thank you. Next up on the agenda is to approve the agenda items. At this time, I would entertain a motion to add one additional resolution to appoint a Board of Governor members.
So be it.
Second.
We have a motion by Holt and a second by Phillips to add one additional resolution. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You have minutes from the last meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Virgil Lemings, a second by Sarah Brown to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Do I hear a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
We have a motion by Brian Tatum and a second by Sarah Brown or by Nikki Brown to approve the treasurer's report. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I knew I was going to do that one of these days. I think that's the first time I've done that. Do I hear a motion to approve the appropriation analysis?
Second.
Motion by Holt, second by Phillips to approve the appropriation analysis. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You have a copy of the County Roads and Equipment Report that was emailed to you. Also, the Sheriff's Report is on the table. Are there any questions about those?
Sheriff,
Yes, sir.
there you are. Sorry, sir. So we had two folks think they can run through Van Buren County at any speed they want to. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
We got them both?
Yes, sir.
You're a good man.
Thank you.
I have a question. I've had several people call me about the article in the paper and the overpopulation in the jail. What, are we holding more feds than we used to?
Less.
Less?
We're about half capacity, just a little over half capacity of our federal inmates, because they can't be moved around very much right now either.
Okay. Is there anything we can do, you guys forgive my ignorance when it comes to this, because I don't work in
I understand.
this line. Is there anything that we can do, like, are there misdemeanor offenses that, like, maybe you could lessen their bond?
All of our people that we're holding right now are felonies and or no bond that's been sent by a judge.
So absolutely necessary.
Most of our misdemeanors either bond out at this time and or OR them if I can, depending on what their offense is. Or if there's a victim in a domestic situation. I generally don't try to OR them because I don't want them to reoffend or violate no contact.
Is it overcapacity or crowded?
It's quarantine issues are issues.
Oh, okay.
And we've made some provisions for that in the last couple of weeks. Our quarantine issue is when you quarantine someone, they have to be in an individual cell by themselves. I have 6 of them. So when they get full, they have to be there for 14 days. Okay, the provision that we've made is we just received about a week and a half ago is a rapid COVID test, which our physician is willing to come over at any time and take make the test available to the inmate. So after 5 days quarantine now, I can give the test after the incubation period, and if it's negative, I can place them in the population, which is our procedure now. So that's the provisions we've made so far.
Is this CDC or?
Yeah, the rapid COVID test come from AAC,
Okay.
from Ms. Janine Thomas.
But your guidelines that you have to follow? Are they CDC and ADC or ADC?
Well, they're US Marshal, they're CDC, they're ADC, they're ACC, state, federal. I mean, there's a bunch of them. There's about, actually, I emailed it to Alex the other day, there's 27-page guideline for correctional facilities from the CDC.
So there's no.
And anybody's welcome to it. I can email it to you. I'll make you a copy of it. If y'all make more sense out of it than I do, I'd be more than willing for any suggestions. The issue is not the guidelines. The issue is the space. When you quarantine somebody for 14 days and they can't be in contact with anybody else,
Even
that
some,
spot is taken for 14 days.
even somebody else that has COVID in quarantine, you can't put them together?
Correct. Only time you can put somebody together is if they come in within 24 hours of each other. Then you can put them together.
But I missed this a while ago, if you said it, you got 5 days now, then you can test, and you've been having to do 10 days or 14?
Been having to do 14 up until about a week and a half.
Then went to 10 or 5?
It went to 5, yes.
Well, that'll help.
And, another issue, another large issue that we're having is mental issues and also suicidal issues. If you have those type people that we have to take care of, and they make the statement that they're gonna hurt themselves or hurt somebody else, you also have to put them by themselves. So if you take up one of your quarantine spots when that happens 1 to 3 times a week. So that takes up one of the 6 to 8 spots that I need. So it's a pretty tough situation, but we're managing. I know that, some people don't understand, but I'll be glad to show it to them if you want to come by the office. More room, add on, new facility. I mean, that's your only fix. We just have to wait. We have to wait our quarantine time. Any other questions?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. County Judge's comments, the only thing I have is I'd like to remind everyone of the Children's Sexual Abuse Roundtable we're going to have here tomorrow at 2 o'clock. You are all welcome to attend.
Who's putting that on?
I am. It's all based out of my office, just trying to get all our resources together and see what we really have and where we need to go from here. Does the court have any questions that they'd like to ask of any of the elected officials that are here? Or department heads? Department heads, is there anyone who would like to approach the court? Okay, let's move right on into our new business. The first ordinance is sponsored by Justice Phillips.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend ordinance number 2020-42, the annual operating budget for 2021, to increase revenue and appropriate $19,981.87 into the Van Buren County Sheriff's Department, line item 1000-400-4004, machinery and equipment. Whereas there is a need to have the equipment necessary to gather evidence off of cell phones, and whereas there is a need to appropriate funds to cover the cost of the equipment. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that the sum of $19,981.87 be appropriated to the Van Buren County Sheriff's budget, 1000-400-4004, machinery and equipment for the purchase of a Celebrite system. I move that we accept this ordinance.
Second.
Okay, have a motion by Phillips and a second by Tatum to adopt this ordinance. Discussion.
Tell us how it's gonna work, Sheriff.
So I may get mad up here in a minute, I may get stumped a little bit on it. I've been around it some, but the Cellbrite system is in order to dump your cell phones, your iPads, your laptops, to gain and gather evidence for prosecution. And what we're running into is we send this evidence that we've collected on scene, we're sending it to the crime lab, and one in particular case that I know off the top of my head, is still sitting in Little Rock that stemmed from a rape case that happened in August. We can't go forward until we have this evidence off of this device so that the prosecution knows what we've gathered, so that they can move forward with what they're going to prosecute with. So, I mean, it's making us wait an undetermined amount of time to be able to get these offenders. As you know, that with the meeting being set up tomorrow, we have a huge problem in our county with these sex offenders. And I believe that taking care of our children is a huge obligation that we have to do.
Is this a standalone computer or a device that downloads that information off the?
It's gonna include all the equipment that comes with it, with multiple cables to fit multiple different types of phones, laptops, iPads. It's gonna be able to access the iCloud. We're gonna be able to pull all that evidence. It comes with training. And our lead investigator is gonna be trained on that so that we can do that here at our office. And we don't have to send it anywhere. When we gain that evidence, we'll be able to turn it over to the prosecutor in a timely manner.
Sheriff, on that, with that being said, without going into any legal details, what is the procedures for using the cell drive?
Procedures as,
Such as, can you just grab the cell phone out of the car and download it?
You gotta have a warrant or arrest or?
yeah, if we get called on an investigation where there's been a sexual assault or something of that nature, we have to type a search warrant for that phone individually by serial number, and then provide that to the prosecutor and the judge to get that signed off. Once they sign off on that, then we can go to the cell drive machine, and then we can look at it. No, we can't directly just grab a phone and look at it. We have to go through the proper procedure to get to that point. Which would be the same with your iPads and your laptops and all that.
During your investigation, let me make sure I understand this, during your investigation, you go out to where there's been a crime, you capture the phone, take time, and take it back to the jail?
Yes.
And then you put in the paperwork for the judge to be able to grant it, to get you the information from that phone?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
What, up to this point, what other options have you had?
Crown Rapids, multiple months of waiting.
How many devices have you guys needed data from this year? Just, I know it's gonna be a rough number, but
Quite a bit, but I can tell you the last month or so, probably 15 to 20 devices. In fact, today I just had a search warrant signed for another device that I honestly believe that will be information on that will give me enough probable cause to effect arrest.
see, guys, this is where we are, and I shouldn't even go here because it's not my turn to talk, but 15 or 20 in a month. And that's how many offenders that we have that are attacking our children in one county. And I'm beside myself. I'm sure people like Carol and Lucas and Matthew Meinke, they're probably saying, Judge, what took you so long to come around to this? But it's heartbreaking. It's gut-wrenching. Guys, we've got to do something. Our kids are paying a price for our inaction.
Carol, most of the sheriff's departments have access to this stuff.
I mean, a lot of them that I work with do. Does Kevin Brown have cell right?
No.
So no, he doesn't,
They
okay.
take them to Harris.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Yeah. No, it's a really effective tool, and not just child molestation or abuse cases. Now everyone I mean, we all do, right? So criminals do too. Use your phone or your tablet to do all kinds of things. So whether they're gonna brag about the crime, have pictures of the crime, I've worked some homicides in Faulkner County that we were able to the law enforcement was able to even locate the suspect, and then we were able to put the suspect at the scene of the crime based on his phone, because your phone tracks everywhere you go, right? Like it or not, that's what happens. And so there's something called cell site location information on your phone. And so this was a crime in the middle of the night where no one really had a reason to be there, but sure enough, this guy was. And so a search warrant and Cellbrite was able to download that showed like everywhere he had been within a certain number of miles. And so it can be used for all kinds of things. Certainly it can be a unfortunate treasure trove in child pornography type cases. We have one in Conway right now that Cellbrite has pulled off what he thought were a whole bunch, and I mean a whole bunch, of even deleted images. That Cellbrite can often even access what the offender had meant to and had deleted off his regular hard drive, but in certain circumstances it can even access some of those deleted files. And so it's a really effective tool, and it's helped us put away a lot of bad people, not just child abuse cases, although those are certainly paramount.
So with that being said, Sheriff, if this was to go through, would this be open to all the other agencies, you know, within the county and if surrounding counties that need to be?
Yes, because our agencies, actually, if we don't go to the crime lab, we have to take some, we've been driving to Russellville, Harrison. So, yes, I mean, our local agencies and surrounding agencies, we've got a good rapport, a good relationship with them. We'd help them any way we could.
And that's just gonna lighten the load at the crime lab.
I think it's detrimental to our sexual assault problem that we're talking about tomorrow.
Okay, so I'm still hung up on what you said in the very beginning about the case from, you said last year?
August.
Assuming, I mean, I realize you can't talk about certain things, but, will you be able to go retrieve that phone about as soon as possible once you get this? And
As soon as they get complete with the search on
I mean, I'm assuming that person is still that large.
Well, they won't get this equipment and get trained and all that before they can get that particular phone back.
I'm hoping they'll be done with it
I mean,
today. But, I mean, we just don't know. They'll call us when they get done.
But it's been there since
See, the phone has been there, is my
I
understanding.
understand that,
Yes.
but do you have to leave it there, or can you go get that phone? I mean,
Oh, if we get trained, I will get it.
Is that an average time, Lucas, on getting things back from the crime lab? I mean, that's always 9 months or something like that?
Most generally on the technology, it takes a while.
Really?
Depending on the severity of your case, but I mean, I think a rape case is pretty severe.
Whenever federal question's been asked, I mean, they would turn their phone over automatically, doesn't it? Because here's my phone, go search it, you know. Okay. Yeah, so you have to get a warrant. But you put a crime there, there's a phone there, it's suspected, so how do you keep them from?
If I suspect that there's evidence on there, I can seize the phone and hold on to that phone to hold on to that evidence and make sure that evidence is secure, and then get my search warrant. And then at that point, I will be able to extract the information from the phone.
That's my question, okay.
And I may add one other thing. It's not just our county or agency that are playing with these cases right now. Everybody is full. In other agencies, as far as state police that we use in the past to bring our cell phones to. The guy in Harrison, he's a part of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force with the state police. So he covers a wide area, and I mean, he's small. So he has to find time in his day to take my information. And it's like that everywhere.
so by that same token, two-part question, does this total include your training?
Correct, that includes training, yes.
Okay, would we potentially not need to train someone else so he wouldn't be inundated? Because I know he has other work to do.
Probably in the future we would. Once he gets everything down where he knows, then we would probably wait for budget season next year where I can budget that in my budget. And then we would probably train somebody else next year. In the instance he's on vacation or out or something.
Any idea on the training, the length? How long does the training take?
It was 4
It's 40 hours.
For it.
Will they come here, or do you have to go?
This is actually going to be web-based, so I can pretty much do it at my own time, but I have X amount of time to complete it, which is I think 30 days.
Do you have a number on how much the training costs?
It was it's all in that figure. Altogether, it was a little over 3,000 for the training.
It's training also as well as certification, so that way you can testify in court and
Right.
explain how you extract the information.
It's on that quote, Sarah, if you will find the receipt. I think it's the second, B, that second box. Celebrate certified operator plus physical analyst. I think that's the, and there's ongoing training too, right? And
Yes.
so that's, we continue.
Did you not have that sheet?
Yeah, I don't think we have. Oh.
Okay.
Probably
It was
training and
in the
support.
packet that was emailed. Here,
I'm asking because I know you have a lot of other things going on. And if the amount of devices you said earlier, how many did you say average in a month?
This past month, like 15 to 20 is a lot.
Which I'm sure it doesn't take that long to.
No, it is not.
To dump them, so that might not be an issue. I'm just.
And the thing is like, you know, I would be certified to extract the information. Any other investigator can actually comb through that information. They don't have to be certified to be able to analyze it.
Thank you.
And we're getting 4 PCs, is that right? Is this what it says, 4? UFED 4 PC ultimate?
That's just the, that's the name.
Is that the
of
one
machine.
machine?
It's one machine, correct.
They're not cheap, are
Yeah.
they? Wow.
As far as we've been able to figure out, there's only about four in our state.
Is that right?
With the
With the iCloud,
Correct.
to be able to access the iCloud and all that.
Sheriff, what would be looking later down the road, at possibly getting another machine, so there's more than one? Or
With y'all's blessing, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. God bless you.
any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Bradford.
Yes.
Tatum.
Yes.
Lemings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
2021-15.
Thank you guys for taking a bold step to do something about this issue. Thank you personally, thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Hensley.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, the appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance number 2020-42, the annual operating budget for 2021 to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $2,550 into the Sheriff's Office budget number 1000-400. Whereas the Sheriff's Office received the LLEBG grant in the amount of $2,550, and whereas the grant money needs to be appropriated into the Sheriff's Department budget number 1000-400-3103 grants. Now therefore it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that $2,550 be appropriated into number 1000-400-3103 grants. I move we approve as written.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Hensley, a second by Justice Nikki Brown. Any discussion?
I just have a question. What is the grant for?
First of all, I want to tell you I appreciate the approval on the Silverite. That is an awesome move to what we need to do our job. This grant that we had prepared is a lay grant through the state, and the lay grant was applied for in order to provide our deputies with a new holster. We all got new weapons a couple of years ago. Now I want to get them a new holster that will accommodate a tack light. I know that a lot of people don't think you need a tack light in the daytime, but I think Officer Tatum understands that you need one more in the daytime than you do at nighttime. Going in and out of lighted places to dark places, but anyway, the grant is for holsters as we're moving to inventory for our deputies because we issue these items out to them along with uniforms and outer carriers, which our last May grant went towards. We provide that for our deputies so that it doesn't cost them out of their pocket if we need somebody to come to work for us. I've done it myself and a lot of other people have done it and moved from a different agency. And it is very costly for you to buy these uniforms for the uniforms that they wear and also the gear that you wear. It's very costly for you to change jobs. We want to make it more enticing for people to come work for us. And so we're going to provide, start building our duty belt now that we have our uniforms built. Now we're going to start building our duty belts for the deputies. So that's what the labor grant is for, is to order new holsters that will accommodate a tack light. It doesn't come with the tack light, I wish it did, but it will accommodate one.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah. Yes. Phillips.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Bradford.
Yes.
Tatum.
Yes.
Lemings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
2021-16.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Bradford.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance 2020-42, the annual operating budget for 2021, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $58,607 into a new fund number 3,512, Denard Fire Department grant. Whereas the Denard Volunteer Fire Department received a grant from White River in the amount of $58,607, and whereas the monies need to be appropriated into a new fund number 3,512, the Denard Fire Department grant as follows: 3,512-502-4004 equipment, 3,512-502-3100 miscellaneous, 3,512-502-3001 contract/audit. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, a new fund be approved, number 3,512, our Fire Department grant, and Section 2, $58,607 be appropriated into the new fund as stated above.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion to approve by Holt, a second by Justice Sarah Brown. Any discussion?
What is the line item contract and audit for?
Because it's put in grant, it's going to be, it has to be audited.
Okay,
so that's
gotcha.
something there. And I believe, I talked to Mike on this once before, they were the only fire department in the county based off of population or something of that nature that was going to be able to be available for it. I think they're purchasing 6 or 8 new SCBA's, I think is what they're getting.
It was based on population income.
Yeah, something, yeah.
Yeah, they have, unfortunately for them, fortunately they got the money for the grant, but unfortunately for them, the Denard Fire Department was the lowest in the whole White River Planning and Development District as far as income and higher in poverty. So they received the grant. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah. Yes. Phillips.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Bradford.
Yes.
Tatum.
Yes.
Lemings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
2021-17.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Holt.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an emergency ordinance amending sections of the personnel policy. Whereas the personnel policy was updated by ordinance 2021-14, and whereas sections of the policy will need to be clarified according to AAC, and whereas these changes will take effect upon passage of this ordinance. Whereas page 22, section B, holiday leave, the county will be closed to observe all legal holidays listed below. All full-time county employees will be granted paid leave on these days at 8 hours, with the exception of the county road department. The county road department will be granted paid leave at 10 hours a day unless their hours are changed to 8-hour days. Any full-time employee who works on a paid holiday will receive holiday hours in addition to their hours worked. If this employee has worked 80 hours during the payroll, the hours worked on the holiday will be rolled into the employee's comp time, with the exception of the sheriff's office deputies and detention center employees. Due to the schedules of the detention center and the sheriff's deputies, these employees will receive pay for the holidays. Number 1, New Year's Day, January 1st. Number 2, Martin Luther King birthday, January the 19th. Number 3, President's Day, third Monday in February. Number 4, Good Friday, Friday before Easter. Number 5, Memorial Day, last Monday in May. Number 6, Independence Day, July the 4th. Number 7, Labor Day, first Monday in September. Number 8, Veterans Day, November the 11th. Number 9, Thanksgiving Day, fourth Thursday in November. Number 10, Black Friday, the Friday after Thanksgiving. Number 11, Christmas Eve, December the 24th. Number 12, Christmas Day, December the 25th. 13, the employee's birthday may be used on or after their birthday. Number 14, New Year's Eve, December the 31st. County offices will close at noon. Additional holidays may be proclaimed by the county judge. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, the Van Buren County Personnel Policy will be amended as stated above. Section 2, this ordinance being necessary for the preservation of the public peace, health, safety, and welfare, it is therefore declared an emergency exists, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage. I move that we approve this.
Second.
A motion to approve by Holt, second by Justice Phillips. Discussion.
Do you want to clarify why the county road department will be granted 10 hours instead of the 8-hour day?
Yeah, that's why they work 10 hours.
Yeah, 10-hour days.
For
Okay.
clarification.
Good question.
We know that.
You bet. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Bradford.
Yes.
Tatum.
Yes.
Lemings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
2021-18.
Okay. That one had an emergency clause on it, and I always like to point out these emergency clauses, even though we don't have to. I think it's good procedurally to acknowledge them. I would like to read into the minutes, so the emergency on this ordinance. So I would entertain a motion to accept the emergency clause on this ordinance.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Phillips and a second by Brian Tatum to accept the emergency clause on this ordinance. This one would be an emergency simply because we would want this to go into effect immediately. Any more discussion on that? All those in favor of acknowledging the emergency clause on this ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Bass.
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas. An ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to establish a special revenue fund to be called the American Rescue Plan Fund and to declare an emergency. Article 1, affirmation. It comes before this court that there is a need to establish this special revenue fund on the books of the county to track revenues and expenditures and other appropriated transfers of federal assistance through the American Rescue Plan Act. This court recognizes and affirms the need for such fund to properly account for and control all such revenue received and expenditures made in compliance with all applicable laws and guidance from the U.S. Treasury. Article 2, establishment of fund. There is hereby created on the books of Van Buren County Treasurer and the books of the Van Buren County Clerk a special revenue fund to be known as the American Rescue Plan Fund and a fund number of 3046 as assigned by Arkansas Legislative Audit. The revenue code for the federal assistance through the ARP Act and assigned by Legislative Audit is 7112, Federal Coronavirus Relief. Article 3, Operation of Fund. The American Rescue Plan Fund is subject to all the normal county budgeting, appropriation, and expenditure regulations of Arkansas Code Annotated, Title 14, and the county financial management system implemented in accordance with annotated, Arkansas Code Annotated 14-21-101. Funds must be used only in accordance with guidelines issued by the U.S. Treasury concerning the legal expenditures or revenues received pursuant to the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, PL 11-2, which established the federal qualified state and local physical recovery fund. Proper records and documentation must be maintained for federal audit purposes. Article 4 Emergency Clause. It is found by this court that the deposit of federal assistance fund from the American Rescue Plan Act are imminent, making it necessary to establish the American Rescue Plan Fund in order to be able to properly track the revenue, appropriate expenditures, and/or appropriate transfers. Therefore, an emergency is declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from the date of the passage and approval.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
We have a motion to adopt by Justice Holt and a second by, I heard about 3, I think. Justice Phillips? Any discussion?
You said these funds have already been appropriated, is that right?
No, they have been received.
They've been received?
They've been received. We've got to have a place to put them.
Yeah.
We've received 50% of what Buren County has been allocated. We'll receive the other 50% next year. It was a little over $1.6 million. Don't get all excited. These funds are going to be very slow to get a hold of. This isn't like the other amount of CARES Act money that we can just jump into and get. There are a lot of restrictions, overwhelming amounts of paperwork that is going to have to be done to work with these funds. They are extremely restricted as far as their use. And basically, the county is just going to be a flow-through for other organizations that are going to be receiving the bulk of this money if we have need to actually use all of this money over the next. We have 4 years from the date of receipt to be able to spend these funds. So we have a while. That's why I'm saying don't get excited, but very little of it will get to stay in county government. It goes out. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Sarah, Phillips,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Bradford,
Yes.
Tatum,
Yes.
Lemings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
2021-19.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to acknowledge the emergency clause.
So be it.
Have a motion by Holt and a second by Tatum to acknowledge the emergency clause on this ordinance. All those in favor, or any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Our next is a resolution sponsored by Justice Holt.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Buren, State of Arkansas, that the resolution be entitled, a resolution to declare a vacancy on the Hospital Board of Governors and to approve an appointment to fill the vacancy. Whereas the Buren County Quorum Court has the responsibility and legal obligation to appoint members to the Buren County Board of Governors. And whereas the Buren County Judge has received notice that David McBee has moved out of the area which leaves the vacant position. And whereas there is a need to fill this vacancy. Therefore, be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Buren County, Arkansas, that the Quorum Court of Buren County hereby confirms the appointment of Richard Collins to the Buren County Hospital Board of Governors. The Board of Governors is comprised of the following members who meet the requirements of Arkansas Code 14-263-104. Donnie Collins, Chairman, Gwen A. Day, Vice Chairman, Sam Shannon, Jr., Secretary, Jody Lynn, Treasurer, Randall Gardner, Dole Scroggins, and now Richard Collins. I move we approve this resolution.
Second.
We have a motion by Holt, a second by Hensley to adopt this resolution. Any discussion? I know Richard Collins is a stranger to all of you guys.
Yeah. I would say it's quite an example of good people going on the board for him to be on the board.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote?
Holt,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah, Phillips,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Bradford,
Yes.
Tatum,
Yes.
Lemings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
2021-12.
Thank you. As Justice Lemings pointed out in his prayer, our thoughts and our prayers are with our treasurer, Misty Wilson, and her family as they are experiencing the death of her mother. Is there any other discussion before we close? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn. Second? Second. Any opposed?